Hey. Time for an out of this world story from rSpace. Some people will do whatever it takes to cover their tracks and leave you to figure out what's left in your bank account. Today on rSpace, when your wife steals your heart, your money, and your identity. Discovered my wife's 2-year affair through our shared cloud account. She's now facing criminal charges for identity theft. I, 38 male, have been married to my wife Melissa, 36 female, for 10 years. We met through friends at a local pub quiz night, hit it off immediately, and got married after dating for 2 years. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but I thought we were solid. We both had good jobs. I work in project management and she's an accountant at a mid-sized firm. No kids, just a house in the suburbs and 2 cats. I'm still trying to process everything that's happened over the past few weeks, but I need to get this off my chest. For our 10th anniversary, I planned a weekend getaway at this lakeside cabin we both loved. I spent weeks organizing it, making sure everything was perfect. During the trip, Melissa seemed distant. She kept checking her phone constantly and would step outside to take calls. When I asked who it was, she'd say it was for work or her mom. I didn't think much of it at the time. Tax season was coming up, and she always gets busier around then. Then my phone broke. The screen completely shattered after I accidentally dropped it in the driveway. While waiting for a replacement, I used our shared iPad to check emails and handle some work stuff. We've always had a shared cloud account for convenience. Photos, documents, calendars, the works. I never thought twice about it. I noticed some photo notifications popping up that I didn't recognize. I opened our cloud storage and found a folder I'd never seen before. It was hidden in a subfolder of a subfolder labeled innocuously as Work Receipts 2021 to 2023. Something made me click on it. What I found destroyed me. Hundreds of photos of my wife with another man. Intimate photos. Photos in hotel rooms, photos at restaurants, photos at what looked like a beach resort. My stomach dropped to the floor. I felt physically ill. I spent the entire night going through everything, unable to stop myself. I realized she must have taken the photos on her work phone, which she had accidentally synced to our shared cloud years ago when we set it up. The next day, I dug deeper. I found text messages between her and someone named Robert dating back almost 2 years. They weren't just having sex. They were in a full-blown relationship. They said, "I love you" to each other. They made plans for the future. They complained about their spouses. Yes, this guy was married too, with kids. I discovered they'd taken a weekend trip to Miami while I was at a business conference. They'd been to fancy restaurants I could never afford. Hotel receipts showed they met up at least twice a week, usually during her working late hours. There were even messages about how they needed to be careful about their spending so their spouses wouldn't notice. That's when I started looking at our finances. We have separate accounts, but share expenses and have joint savings. I noticed unusual withdrawals from our joint account over the past year and a half. Small amounts at first, but they added up to thousands. I also found credit card statements for accounts I never opened. I pulled my credit report and nearly had a heart attack. 4 credit cards and a personal loan, all in my name, that I knew nothing about. The total debt was over $45,000. I also discovered Melissa had been transferring money from our joint savings to a private account, about $35,000 over 18 months. My head was spinning. Not only was my wife cheating on me, but she was also stealing from me and committing identity theft. I spent days gathering evidence, taking screenshots, downloading statements, and making copies of everything. I needed to be prepared for confronting her. Valentine's Day came around. Ironic timing, right? She gave me a card saying how much she loved me and how excited she was for many more years together. I couldn't take it anymore. After dinner, I laid out all the evidence on our dining room table. The photos, the messages, the financial statements, everything. At first she denied it all, claimed the photos were fake, that I was making things up. When I showed her the timestamps and locations, she admitted to the affair but said it was just physical and didn't mean anything. When I brought up the financial fraud, she claimed it was for emergencies and that she was planning to pay it all back before she found out. I just told her to get out. She packed a bag and said she was going to stay with her sister. I later found out from a friend that she went straight to Robert's place. The next day, I called a divorce attorney. He advised me to file a police report for the identity theft immediately. I was hesitant at first. Despite everything, this was the woman I'd loved for a decade. But he explained that without a police report, I could be held liable for the fraudulent debts. So I did it. I went to the police station and filed a report detailing everything. I spent the next few days in a daze, changing all passwords, locks, and security measures. I froze my credit card at all bureaus and started disputing the fraudulent accounts. I filed for divorce, citing infidelity and financial fraud. The police called me for additional information about the identity theft case. They took it seriously, especially given the amount of money involved. They told me they would be contacting Melissa for questioning. A friend called to tell me Melissa had been telling people I was controlling and emotionally abusive, that I had driven her to cheat by neglecting her. Complete BS. I've never raised my voice to her, let alone a hand. The police formally interviewed her about the identity theft allegations. She apparently tried to downplay it, saying we were married, so what was hers was mine and vice versa. The detective wasn't buying it. I came home from work one day to find things missing. Some documents, family heirlooms, and electronics. I realized Melissa still had a key. I immediately changed the locks and installed security cameras. 2 days later, the cameras caught her trying to enter the house with her old key. When it didn't work, she tried to force the back door open. I sent the footage to my attorney and the police. I received divorce papers from her attorney demanding 50% of all assets, including my retirement accounts and the house that I had mostly paid for. The audacity was breathtaking. Her attorney made no mention of the fraud or theft, portraying her as a devoted wife blindsided by divorce. My attorney assured me that her demands were ridiculous given the circumstances. The evidence of fraud and theft would significantly impact the division of assets. He advised me to stay calm and let the legal process work. I can't believe the audacity of this woman. After 10 years of marriage, she not only cheats on me for 2 years straight, but has the nerve to steal my identity and rack up $45,000 in fraudulent debt? And then her attorney demands half of everything? Absolutely not. The calculated way she hid those photos, systematically drained our accounts, and opened credit cards in my name shows this wasn't some momentary lapse in judgment. This was premeditated theft and betrayal on an industrial scale. The fact that she's now playing victim to her family and friends just confirms I never really knew her at all. She wasn't just risking our marriage with this affair, she was deliberately setting herself up financially for her exit while destroying my credit in the process. I found out Robert is 42, works as a sales director at a pharmaceutical company, and he has been married for 15 years with 2 teenage kids. His poor wife has no idea what's been happening. I'm debating whether I should go tell her. On one hand, she deserves to know. On the other, I don't want to get more involved in this mess than I already am. Melissa has been blowing up my phone, alternating between begging for forgiveness and threatening me for reporting her to the police. She claims I've ruined her life and career. I've blocked her on everything except email, which I keep open only for divorce-related communication. Her family has been calling me nonstop. Her mother left a voicemail saying I was overreacting, and that couples shared finances all the time. Her brother texted that I was a vindictive a-hole for involving the police. None of them seemed to grasp the severity of what she did, except maybe her cousin Jenna has circled the wagons around her. Jenna actually texted me saying she didn't blame me one bit, but that she had to stay out of it. My friends have been supportive, though some have suggested I should have tried marriage counseling before going nuclear. They don't understand that this wasn't just about the affair. It was about the systematic financial fraud and identity theft. There's no coming back. The police investigation is ongoing. My attorney says Melissa will likely face criminal charges for identity theft, fraud, and possibly grand larceny depending on how the prosecutor decides to file the charges. The evidence is overwhelming. I didn't want this outcome, but I refused to be a doormat and let her steal my identity, drain our accounts, and walk away with half of everything before betraying me for years. My attorney is confident we'll get a favorable outcome given the circumstances. The identity theft case has been assigned to a detective who specializes in financial crimes, and he's been thorough in his investigation. I'm still processing everything. Some days I'm angry, others I'm just sad. 10 years of my life with someone who could do this to me. I keep asking myself if any of it was real. Did she ever love me? Was she planning this all along? Or did she just fall for someone else and decide to cash out while she could? I know I'll eventually be okay. I'm financially stable, or will be once this mess is sorted out. I have a good job, supportive friends, and my health. But right now, it feels like I'm living someone else's nightmare. If you've made it this far, thanks for reading. I guess I'm looking for advice on how to handle the coming months. The divorce, the criminal case, rebuilding my credit, dealing with her family's harassment. Has anyone been through something similar? How did you cope? Did the legal system actually work in your favor? I never thought I'd be in this position. I played by the rules, I was faithful, I worked hard, and somehow I ended up here, betrayed, stolen from, and facing an illegal battle with the woman I once thought I'd grow old with. Edit. Looking back, I remembered we'd kept old tax files and utility statements in the home office. All the info she needs was right there. Social security number, employment info, everything. That's how she was able to open those accounts in my name without raising any red flags. She kept the amount small, $500 here, $1,000 there, spread over time and across different cards. I trusted her and didn't monitor the joint savings daily. That was my mistake. Now, I second guess everyone. I look at kindness like it's camouflage. I hate that she took that from me too. You did the right thing reporting it, OP. I know it feels like you're playing the bad guy in this narrative she's spinning to her family, but let's be real. If someone steals your identity and racks up tens of thousands in debt under your name, but we're married, is not a defense. Also, her mom saying couples share finances all the time? Yeah, sure, when both people actually know about it and it doesn't involve financial identity theft. Unbelievable. Update 1. It's been about 2 months since my last post, and things have taken several dramatic turns. Thanks to everyone who offered advice and support. I've been trying to follow through on the legal proceedings while keeping my sanity intact. A few days after my last post, Melissa showed up at our house unannounced. I was working from home that day and opened the door to find her standing there with tears in her eyes. She begged me to talk, saying she's made a terrible mistake and wanted to fix things. According to her, the affair was just a phase, and the financial issues were just her borrowing money that she intended to pay back. She claimed that she only opened those credit cards because she was afraid to ask me for money for certain things. I almost laughed in her face. Borrowing? $45,000 in fraudulent credit cards and $35,000 from our savings isn't borrowing. It's theft. And her explanation as to why she needed all that money? Apparently, she had expenses related to her work and social life. When I pressed her on what those expenses were, she got vague and defensive. I told her to leave, and all that communication should go through our attorneys. The next day, I came home from the grocery store to find several items missing from the house, including my laptop, some important documents, and a few family heirlooms from my grandparents. I immediately called the police and reported the theft. The responding officers took my statement and documented everything that was missing. I showed them the security footage from my doorbell camera that caught Melissa entering the house with her old key while I was out. They added burglary to the growing list of charges against her. I called my attorney right after the police left, and he advised me to get an emergency restraining order. I went to the courthouse that same afternoon and was granted a temporary restraining order prohibiting Melissa from coming within 500 feet of me, my home, or my workplace. I also called a locksmith and had all the locks changed again, this time with a more sophisticated system. I installed security cameras covering all entrances to the house and set up motion alerts on my phone. I wasn't taking any chances after this. 2 days later, the cameras caught Melissa trying to use her old key to get in. When it didn't work, she went around to the back door and tried to force it open with something that looked like a credit card. The footage clearly showed her face and her attempts to break in. I sent the video to my attorney and the police, who added it to her growing file. She was arrested the next day for violating the restraining order and attempted breaking and entering. I changed all my passwords again, set up two-factor authentication on everything, and even changed my email address. I also started using a P.O. box for important mail instead of our home address, just in case she was trying to intercept anything. The police investigation into the identity theft was moving forward. The detective handling the case called to let me know they had enough evidence to formally charge Melissa with multiple counts of identity theft and fraud. He asked if I was sure I wanted to proceed, warning me that this would result in her arrest and potential jail time. I confirmed that I did. Around this time, a friend who works at Melissa's company told me she'd been fired after her arrest became public knowledge. Apparently, she'd been telling everyone at work that I was emotionally abusive and had driven her to cheat. She claimed I had set her up with the identity theft charges to punish her for leaving me. The absolute gall of this woman is astounding. I also discovered Robert is married with 2 children. His wife, Karen, had no idea of the affair. After much deliberation, I decided she deserved to know the truth. I found her on social media and sent her a message asking if we could meet. She agreed, probably thinking I was a potential client or something. We met at a coffee shop and I brought some copies of the less explicit evidence. Text messages, hotel receipts, and photos of them together in public places. She was devastated but also grateful that I had told her. She revealed that Robert had cheated before, about 5 years ago, and they had gone through counseling. She thought they had moved past it. She asked for copies of everything I had, which I provided. 2 days later, Karen texted me to say that she had confronted Robert and he had admitted to everything. She was filing for divorce. I felt bad for her and the kids, but she deserved to know the truth. Meanwhile, Melissa's parents started calling me constantly. Her mother left tearful voicemails begging me to drop the charges, saying Melissa had made a mistake but didn't deserve to have her life ruined. Her father was more aggressive, threatening to make me pay if I didn't back off. I forwarded the threatening messages to my attorney and the police. The first divorce hearing was a complete circus. Melissa showed up looking like she hadn't slept in days, with her attorney arguing that the financial fraud was for household expenses and therefore actually fraud. My attorney presented evidence showing the stolen money had funded gifts for Robert, including a $5,000 watch, their trips together, and fancy dinners at restaurants I could never afford. The judge was not impressed with Melissa's defense. After the hearing, my attorney told me we were in a strong position. The evidence of fraud and theft would significantly impact the division of assets, likely in my favor. He advised me to stay the course and not give in to any emotional pleas from Melissa or her family. Melissa's crime arraignment was scheduled for the following week. She pleaded not guilty to all charges despite the mountain of evidence against her. The judge set bail, which her parents paid, and she was released with orders not to contact me or leave the state. A few days later, I received a series of threatening text messages from Melissa's brother, calling me every name in the book and saying he was going to teach me a lesson for what I was doing to his sister. I reported these to the police as well, who warned him to back off or face harassment charges. Through the grapevine, I heard that Robert has ended his relationship with Melissa after his wife filed for divorce. Apparently, he blamed Melissa for not being careful enough and getting them caught. What a stand-up guy, right? Melissa was now staying with her parents, having nowhere else to go. The financial fallout has been a nightmare to clean up. I've spent countless hours on the phone with credit card companies, credit bureaus, and banks, trying to dispute the fraudulent accounts and charges. Some have been cooperative, others less so. My credit score has taken a massive hit, but my attorney assures me it will recover once all this is sorted out. Last week, Melissa, apparently drunk, tried to break into my house again at around 2 a.m. The security system alerted me, and I called the police immediately. They arrived to find her trying to climb in through a window she had broken. She was arrested for trespassing, breaking and entering, and violation of the no-contact order. She spent the night in jail before her parents bailed her out again. This incident has strengthened my case considerably. My attorney is now negotiating a settlement that would give me the house, my retirement accounts, and most of our assets, with Melissa responsible for all the fraudulent debt and required to pay restitution for the money she stole from our joint accounts. The prosecutor handling the criminal case has approached me about a potential plea deal for Melissa. They're offering to reduce the charges if she pleads guilty, making full restitution, and serves probation instead of jail time. They've asked for my input, and I'm inclined to agree to it. Despite everything, I don't want her to see her in jail. I just want my money back and for the nightmare to be over. I know I have a long road ahead, but I'm starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel. The divorce should be finalized soon, and the criminal case is moving toward resolution. Once those are settled, I can truly begin to rebuild my life. For those who asked in my previous post, yes, the legal system is working in my favor, but it's slow and frustrating. The evidence is overwhelming, which helps, but the process still takes time. If you're in a similar situation, document everything, get a good attorney, and be prepared for a marathon, not a sprint. I'll update when there are significant developments. Thanks again for all the support and advice. Melissa showing up and trying to spin everything as a phase and borrowing money like this is some simple misunderstanding is honestly laughable. $80,000 doesn't just slip out of someone's account without planning. Her parents and brother trying to intimidate you is just more proof of where Melissa learned her behavior. Threats and emotional manipulation don't undo the damage she caused, and you're under no obligation to protect someone who clearly had no problem trying to destroy your life to prop up her own. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share the final resolution to this nightmare. A lot has happened, and I appreciate everyone who's followed along and offered support through this ordeal. First, I received the initial restitution payment through the court system. It was only a small fraction of what Melissa owes me, but it's a start. My attorney says it could take years to recover the full amount, but at least the legal system acknowledges the debt. Shortly after my last update, I discovered Melissa had been telling her family members that I forged evidence against her. According to her, I fabricated the text messages, doctored the photos, and somehow tricked her into opening those credit cards. Her parents actually believed this nonsense and doubled down on their harassment. I had to send them a cease and desist letter through my attorney. Regarding the plea deal the prosecutor initially proposed, I ultimately rejected it. After thinking it through and talking with my attorney, I realized I was still trying to protect someone who had shown zero remorse and continued to lie about me. Why should she get a slap on the wrist for stealing $80,000 and destroying my credit? If anyone else had done this, they'd be facing serious jail time. The fact that we were married doesn't make it any less of criminal. When I informed the prosecutor I wouldn't support a plea deal, he was actually relieved. He told me they had a solid case and were confident they could get a conviction on all charges. Melissa's attorney tried to pressure me through mutual acquaintances to accept the deal, but I stood firm. I also learned that Melissa had moved in with a new boyfriend just weeks after Robert dumped her. This guy apparently has money and was helping her with legal bills. She posted pictures of them together on social media, looking happy and carefree, while I was still dealing with the financial mess she created. Things took a serious turn when she missed her scheduled restitution payment. I received a letter from her attorney claiming she couldn't afford the payments due to being unemployed. My attorney filed a motion with the court to enforce the payment schedule. At the hearing for the missed payments, she showed up with her new boyfriend, dressed expensively and wearing new jewelry. The judge wasn't impressed. especially when my attorney presented evidence that she was spending freely while claiming poverty to avoid restitution. The judge warned her that failure to comply with court-ordered payments could result in jail time. A friend tipped me off that Melissa was actually working under the table at a high-end boutique owned by her new boyfriend's family. She was getting paid in cash to avoid wage garnishment. I hired a private investigator who documented her working there over several days and even made purchases with her as the salesperson, getting receipts that didn't include her name. I reported this to her probation officer along with the evidence. The probation officer was furious about the deception and filed a report with the court. While all this was happening, she violated her probation by leaving the state without permission. She took a weekend trip to Las Vegas with her new boyfriend, posting photos of themselves at expensive restaurants and clubs. Her probation officer added this to the list of violations. The final straw came at the probation violation hearing. The judge reviewed the evidence of her unreported income, missed payments, and unauthorized travel. Her attorney tried to argue that she didn't understand the terms of her probation, but the judge wasn't having it. He revoked her probation and sentenced her to 60 days in county jail, with a warning that further violations would result in state prison time. She broke down in the courtroom, crying and begging for another chance. The judge pointed out that she'd already had multiple chances and had chosen to ignore court orders repeatedly. She was taken into custody immediately. Her new boyfriend disappeared as soon as jail time became a reality. Her parents are now blaming me for destroying their daughter's life, completely ignoring the fact that she committed multiple felonies and violated court orders. The divorce is complete. I kept my house, my retirement accounts, and most of our assets. Melissa is responsible for all the fraudulent debt and required to pay restitution for the money she stole. My attorney says it's one of the most lopsided divorce settlements he's ever seen, but the evidence of fraud and theft was overwhelming. I received a message from Karen, Robert's ex-wife, thanking me for my honesty. She said her divorce is proceeding and that she's discovered even more infidelities in Robert's past. She's doing well considering the circumstances and focusing on her kids. The financial cleanup continues. I've managed to get most of the fraudulent accounts removed from my credit report, though my score is still lower than it was before all this happened. I've set up credit monitoring services and keep regular checks on my account and credit reports. I've decided to sell the house and move to another state for a fresh start once Melissa completes her jail sentence and the restitution arrangements are finalized. Too many bad memories here, and I want to be far away from her and her family. For those who asked about how I'm coping, I'm doing better. Therapy has helped me. I want to thank everyone who offered advice and support. Your insights helped me stay strong when I wanted to give up. Well, it's wild that even after everything, she kept lying and manipulating right down to working under the table and flaunting her hardship in court. The gall of her bringing her new boyfriend and showing up in designer gear while claiming she couldn't afford restitution. I'm glad the judge saw right through it. What do you think drives someone to keep lying and manipulating even after they've been caught and face legal consequences? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.